This here is the backstage area where we all hang out.
We're in the 3-year-old room. Behind the scenes of Oklahoma.
Where you can see our cast members getting makeup applied professionally here.
This is Slim playing the piano.
This is backstage entertainment.
This is Pigtails.
I am gonna do a very crazy act. I shall jump!
Okay. Is one of them digital cameras?
Hi.
It was really a grassroots movement.
It's amazing the bare bones of the first one. Like I said, the budget was, it was nothing.
We had about 20 to 25 kids in the cast, high school, I think, that we started out with. And we put on this one night performance of this Passion of the Christ.
It was a very creative time for me, as well as one where I was finding out who I am and how I navigate the world, but it was also very safe.
It was exciting. It was something we weren't used to doing, so it was fun.
Yeah, it opened up with the little kids, and then I don't remember when the adults started in it, but in fact, everybody has enjoyed it more. And also bringing the kids in from outside of the church. Some of them have been really good, and a couple of them have actually stayed with the church. It kept a lot of kids, I'm sure, from having other problems.
It was such an important part of my childhood, participating in that show.
Being on the stage, it was a wonderful thing to see them on the stage and doing all these things and using their voices and dancing and, acting. And, it was just a great thing to have been their teacher and in music had gotten to know them.
I feel like for kids and adults, this brings the community together.
For people in general, the summer musical does in fact help people feel like I can do anything, right? Because the summer musical isn't about a bunch of people that are like actors and singers and dancers coming together to put together a show. The summer musical is about a community of people, right, that want to spend time and do something together, coming together and creating kind of from nothing this full production.
I was a kid going somewhere every night from 6:30 to 9:30, which is I'm pretty sure what the hours were at the time, and going every day was the thing I did.
Kernel of all those youth group memories that I have are still just etched in stone, and I'll always be grateful to First United Methodist for that.
But watching those kids go through a very similar process that summer musical has, where basically you don't think that that's a thing that you do, and all of a sudden you're in a full-scale musical production, is just a really incredible thing to watch.
From that, everybody was able to go on and find their voice and do something else. And I think that if I was to think back, what did the drama department give us? It gave us voice lessons on how to be us.
As the years went on, that special night grew into an annual Broadway production, drawing countless other young people and families to the church each summer to somehow, some way, put together and perform a full theatrical musical production over 5 hot summer weeks.
Everybody came. Yeah, it was fun. It was a full house.
No, I always went to them because I love them. I love working with the kids. They're a lot of fun.
I'll have a kiss from my boy.
I came every year.
Then I would take Anthony to see it when he was a kid, and he loved it.
I personally haven't missed a show since 2008. I've either been in them or watched them.
Why did I keep coming? And it's to support the program. These kids work so hard, and adults. Everybody works so hard all summer. So important to have that audience out there.
Yeah, I've been doing it since for 30 years.
I've been through a lot of them, and they're always great. They're always great. They're always the best.
It's just very, very special.
One of the special things about the summer musical at F.U.M.C. is the seeing people over time and seeing people across generations, which is very cool for someone like me that has been a part of it over the years in different ways.
Everything else outside my life was uncertain.
But does not take the afternoon off from being a perfect young lady, monsieur. Oh mon Dieu!
And confusing and chaotic and
young ladies, but why don't you act the way that a young lady should? I've often told you, please don't tell us again. I ought to scold you.
the thing I could count on is that by participating in the activities of both the Sunday night youth group activities and the summer musicals, is that I had a place to belong and that I was important.
For me, the summer musical felt like the biggest community.
But again, the outreach opportunity for F.U.M.C. is just wonderful. It's unique.
That it was a place where they felt accepted and they could come with the skills they had. Where in school plays, it feels sometimes very closed. And our group was very open. It was open to all, regardless of what your abilities, what your history, what your experience was. Everyone could participate.
But I do remember having so much fun being with everybody on stage.
The drama program was such a great experience. You know, I can't state strongly enough how tight the youth group was at that time in the 70s. The older kids here really took care of the young ones like family, and drama was so integrated into that.
The first time, and I think it was in my second year, maybe my third, when I got my first speaking part, I was like, oh, they see something in me. I can say hello like 3 times.
Hello, hello, hello. Is this Monsieur Gaston, the customer? Or is Madame Duvernay's maid?
And I just thought, I don't know. I mean, I thought that was huge.
It's such a special program. It gives this sense of actual musical, vocal technique, dancing skills, community. There is so much that I've gained that has been a blessing for me to be able to give back throughout the past few years.
Happening was when the program got a little bit smaller, we opened it up to be intergenerational, and then whole families would do it. And it just had a really, really nice feeling to it when we did it that way. And what ended up happening was the entire family would do it, and then some 76-year-old cast member would have this amazing connection and relationship with some 11-year-old cast member who played his son in the show or whatever it was, and it ended up being something that was really good for both of them.
I sing in the classical world, and participating in the summer musical got me out of my bubble. I really enjoyed meeting new people and particularly getting to know the young people.
There's magic in what the summer musical provides to kids. They get to work hard, be part of something bigger than themselves, make friends, feel connected and supported, and support others. It builds resiliency in youth who may not necessarily get this anywhere else in their life. In the social services world, we call it protective factors. And really, it's what the church is supposed to do, to support individuals, children, and families so that they then in turn can have something to offer to the next person. It builds a real community, and every year watching my kid who's never done this before just shine on stage, it really brings tears to my eyes every time.
Actually bringing life to families and kids, and that's just pretty great. I'm really glad I had something to do with starting it.
Somehow, every summer for 50 years, a new and unique group of people come together for 5 magical weeks.
And in wanting to celebrate that magic, we also looked back, curious about how we got to this place.
Who started the program and why?
No one seemed to know.
So Megan, our artistic director for the past 8 years,
who had also been our choreographer and pit band musician before that, and was an actor in the shows as an F.U.M.C. youth.
She decided to dig in and start searching for information that might shed light on the early days of the program.
A program that had not only been so important to her personally, but after 25 years in her various roles, had allowed her to see how the program energized and transformed the lives of so many others.
So to start, Megan and her mom, Pam,
who has been an actor and costumer for the program for decades, among many other various roles, started contacting dozens of people who had been involved in the program since its inception.
As people began responding, an unfamiliar name popped up. In a conversation with former F.U.M.C. pastor John Woodall,
who had also been an actor in the program, musician in the pit band, originator of the fundraising dinners in the cloister, and a parent of 3 children who participated in the program.
Well, John mentioned a man named Tutor Lance.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Do you know who he is?
Who are you?
Who are you?
he thought Tutor might have had something to do with starting the program.
Tutor Lance?
Tutor Lance?
Who was Tutor Lance?
Tutor Lance. Who's that?
Tutor Lance?
Tutor
Lance?
Tutor Lance is a fairly unusual name. Perhaps he could actually be found. Megan took to the internet to find him. She became...
I think it's fair to say she became obsessed with trying to find him.
Do you mean you've lost your marbles? Sensational!
Soon after, in the first of many conversations with Shan Halverson.
Shan had been a youth group member when the program began, a longtime church member, not to mention an actor in the program, costume designer extraordinaire for years, and parent to 3 children who participated.
Shan mentioned this unfamiliar name again.
Megan finally found a promising lead pointing to a Tutor Lance in Indiana, a man without social media.
She found someone who appeared to be his daughter, a woman who, miraculously, was friends with Kathy Kapp on social media. This could be the guy!
And finally, contact was made.
Hip hip hooray!
This is how it started. My grandparents attended Pasadena first. They invited us to church and we came and we stuck. And but I was looking for something to do, and so I went. Lance Martin was just a great guy to sit down and talk with. And I said, I'd like to do something. And he says, well, what can you do? And I said, I love theater, so I kind of like to see if there's any way, because we had the Great Hall back in that day. The closet on the left side of Great Hall, on the stage, was filled with flats, and they'd been around for a really long time and hadn't been used in a really long time. And he said, well, why don't you write something? Okay, I'll write something. And so I wrote this play, The Third Day.
Just, here's this opportunity. You want to do it? Like, yeah.
I myself had not done any theater really at school or anything. So I think it was just an opportunity to try and to do something and be, part of the group.
So Tutor made it happen. He wrote and directed that first play.
My dad was transferred to First Church Pasadena in 1974, and I remember being about 13 years old. And that was the year the drama group did the first production of Jonah the Whale, the Angel, and God. And as a junior high school kid, I remember watching that and just thinking, wow, it was so well done. Very pared back, but so thoughtful and impactful.
I built the sets and all that. Tutor kind of, told me what he wanted, I'm sure I said, I don't know about that.
You crazy or something?
And then I figured out how I could do it. And
Gee, I never expected anything like this.
The idea was there was always a part for somebody to be part of it. And again, your friends were doing it. So why wouldn't you do it? You didn't have to be the lead.
Like you said, the first play was I was a worm. I mean, I didn't have any experience being a worm.
Tutor Lance was the kind of person who not only wrote and directed and coached acting for these young people, but I think he also saw it as being an outreach program, outreach to the community at large and outreach to the kids that were involved. He had an amazing way of casting some of the least obvious people into the productions and pulling out of them these amazing performances that helped them grow as people and really gave them confidence and a feeling of accomplishment for what they had done.
In fact, the Bishop Kennedy, who was the pastor at that time, rated it PG-13 or something like that.
This could be serious.
Well, because he actually put Jesus up on the cross. And it wasn't very gory, but I guess he thought that was going to be disturbing for children. But we did one performance. It was one night. The Great Hall was filled with people from the church, and it was just kind of like, I don't know where the money came from to pay for it, but whatever I needed, we found.
Tudor did 4 more shows for us, including Godspell, but when he moved on, no one was sure what would happen.
I didn't think that there was anybody who would take up the gauntlet.
But people did. Tudor's production laid the groundwork and got us going. A program that has continued to offer something of incredible value for free to youth and family for generations.
Aren't we the only program anywhere in Southern California, certainly in the Pasadena area, and we're so excited about it, that can offer this free of charge. We're so lucky to have the Pasadena Methodist Foundation that provides a good start to our program each year financially. We're very lucky.
Thank you. Fried potatoes and a T-bone steak. That's the way it happens. That's the way it happens.
The global pandemic of 2020 stopped the world in its tracks. Broadway shut down. Theater was impossible.
In the midst of widespread isolation and fear, our little program was determined to find a way.
The summer musical has been a huge part of my life for so many years. I can't imagine having a summer without it.
Aha! There you are. I am delighted to welcome you back.
The sun in the morning and the moon at night. The sun in the morning and the moon at night.
If we're lucky enough to be able to shop at the grocery store, I know I shouldn't complain, but I've really begun to hate the toilet paper aisle.
Remote learning is no joke.
I got the sun in the morning
And the moon at night. And don't forget, wash your hands really well.
With the sun in the morning and the moon in the evening. All right.
And we were all right.
As summer 2022 approaches, the summer of our 50th consecutive show, we asked, how has this program lasted for so many decades?
When I think about being in the F.U.M.C. musicals, one of the first things that comes to mind is that feeling of exhilaration as the entire cast was gathered backstage. It's opening night, and there's singing, dancing, laughing, last-minute makeup touch-ups, and just taking pictures, trying to capture the electric energy of that moment.
I could almost cry thinking about it.
I've always believed that the theater belongs in the church.
For the last 150 years, First United Methodist Church has been a supporter of music and arts and drama in the Pasadena community. As the new pastor of First United Methodist Church, I'm excited to be a part of this rich tradition and look forward to all the ways that we will continue to offer music and theater ministry here in Pasadena.
The tradition of First Church as being a creative place for music was part of its DNA.
Outreach. What a perfect opportunity for the church to show its open doors concept.
The summer musical did so much for me at a very formative time. It helped give me an outlet to stretch myself outside of my comfort zone. It empowered me to be part of a team and to really own my part of that. Like, you can't do it by yourself. It wasn't a one-man show. And I think most importantly, it really helped me overcome being a shy, nerdy kid. Like, I was a really shy, nerdy kid back in the day. And I think, I can really point to the musical specifically for being this outlet that gave me this confidence I always kind of knew I had inside me, but never really had a place to showcase that until that point. Like, I can literally point back to, things that I'm successful at today as an adult and point to that musical and say, that was a point that really, it made me who I am today.
For me, it was about teamwork, and I got a real appreciation for all of the hard work that goes into a creative production. Being in musicals definitely sparked my passion and appreciation for both music and drama.
I've only had the pleasure of doing one musical outside of F.U.M.C, and that was at my high school. I just figured it was so much fun at church, I might as well do it at school too. Unfortunately, they did not think I was suitable, until senior year, that is. My high school musical experience was quite drastically different from my church one, in that there wasn't that sense of community and friendliness that is usually something to look forward to.
There was this cultivation of an investment in the church in a way that I didn't get from any other involvement. Staying super late at night and being locked in to finish, painting whatever, having to go up in the attic to make the lighting happen. It just really made you care so much about the physical spaces, just like a connection to the church that you didn't get through other church activities, which I think was really valuable and also just kind of cool.
The freedom and the invitation to go places during the musical itself said more about my belonging to the church than even, on Sunday, there's a place that you belonged on Sunday morning on the upper left-hand side of the balcony. But there was something about being invited to adventure in these places that other people didn't see, that really was a part of the church belonging experience for me.
When my dad came to me in 2016, he asked me if I wanted to be in one of the church's summer musicals. I was really hesitant at first because I hadn't done anything like that before, and I hadn't been in any acting or any musicals or anything like that. So I said yes, and it was actually one of the best decisions I ever made, because if I hadn't joined that musical, it wouldn't have created this sort of passion for acting and singing that I have, and luckily to what I'm going to school for, which is acting. So I really have the program to thank for that.
I think the first show I ever did, I was in like 4th grade, and I was asked to be the Dormouse in Alice in Wonderland. And all throughout high school, junior high, the shows were a really important part of me feeling like I was part of a community, and I think that it really helped me to become a performer even today. As a music teacher, there's so many skills that I gained from those shows growing up that helped me to learn to be brave and just vocal technique, projecting my voice and all of that. I took it with me into adulthood and into my career itself.
I know for me it was such a great influence and just a great aspect on my upbringing musically, and it definitely exposed me to a lot and paved the way for a lot of my career and where it's gone through.
If anyone has known me for very long, they'll know I was a very shy child.
Now, various objections can you have? My securities are more than adequate, and Latin America is an expanding market. What's the matter? Have you no courage?
You couldn't pay me to speak publicly. But the F.U.M.C summer musical program helped me gain confidence, and I met so many people through the years that I surely would not be the same if I didn't participate. As cheesy as that sounds, it's the truth.
Part of it was always to say, let's call these kids to be something more than they think they can be.
Don't give up. I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small.
And that it was important that I show up. It was important that I pay attention. It was important that I participate. It was important that I not get lost from time, because if you don't make it to the stage when it's your turn, it's a big deal. And the fact that the stars don't shine, I guess, without the whole cast. And I think that was definitely something I learned.
Oh, well, I was a maid in life and father, a maid in dying blue, a maid in journey's end. Dreams are made of strong elastic. Take some sound advice and don't forget it. Anything can happen if you let it.
It's also the confidence building in remembering all the pieces that they have to do, finding their costumes, getting their props put in the right place, remembering their lines and remembering their entrances, and all those things build confidence in everyone in all ages.
A confidence that I experienced from doing it the first year, where I felt like I belonged. I didn't stand out, but I had a role and I could follow directions, and I didn't, I had to learn what a box step was, but boy, once I knew that box step, I knew how to do whatever they were telling me to do on stage. And being a part of something collaborative like that was incredibly powerful.
The musical is different things for different people, but at its core, it's about coming together to create something bigger than our individual selves.
It's the heart of theater everywhere, and out of it comes new skills, strengths we didn't know we had, an appreciation of the arts, friendships, a sense of our place in community, unexpected laughs, and yes, sometimes a few tears.
I had seen some of the musicals before, and I saw my friend Martin perform. He was in Wizard of Oz, and seeing him on stage like that made me want to perform so badly. The shows inspired me to join a choir at my college. I had never sung before. Then Newsies came, and I thought I'd like to try out. I auditioned at the church, and I got a feature role that had me singing solos. I was shocked. And the amazing thing was that I could really sing.
Friendliest place on earth. Pay us a visit and see what we mean. And when you do, we'll kick you halfway to me.
And I feel like I'm more confident on the stage and as a speaker.
The assistant director and Amy and Megan stayed after hours, helping him learn those dance numbers, and just helping him all, through it all. And that really built his confidence to be able to accomplish that, to be able to learn to dance.
What have we got our own? What have we got our cycle? Lays down, leave a place in the sun, leave a cycle.
I first heard of this program from my school. My parents got an email, and that summer I went to audition. I was so scared, and my singing showed how nervous I was. Yet they all welcomed me with open arms. This program has affected my future for the better. With this program, I learned to sing better and dance better. I tried out for my high school's theater conservatory and passed. I feel like this program was one of the reasons I had the guts to try it in the first place.
Growing up, I was a really shy and introverted young girl. In a family of musicians and performers, I had developed this love of singing, acting, and dancing, but had never really had the opportunity to perform.
It makes me feel rather nervous.
I didn't know if I had it in me. My participation in the F.U.M.C musicals was really one of the most formative experiences of my adolescence. I went on to study musical theater in college, and then worked with a nonprofit arts education organization, and eventually went on to pursue my master's in expressive arts therapy.
I did this musical with my sister, Anisha. There was a time when she was way too scared to do anything. She was clinging on to me forever. But then I introduced her to some other kids and she became the total opposite. Now she has friends to look forward to seeing in the summer.
He wanted to be in Fiddler on the Roof, so at that point he was not yet in the youth, so I did it with him. Then when they did Charlie Brown, he by that time was in the youth program, but he needed a little shepherding, let's just say. And in Oklahoma, kind of the same. But by the time he got to The Boyfriend, I think that's where he really started to get the feel here of what he could do.
I was never that into theater before doing the musicals. But after, I became a full-on theater kid. Tried out for show choir at school, joined other theater programs, and started to really get into it. I can sing, dance, and act so much better because of the musical. I never tried out for anything before, but the musical gave me the confidence to audition for my school's theater program.
I hope that I can say that I'm a better teacher, friend, leader, learner, and mentor today because of the experiences with the drama program over the years, the benefits of being in a collaborative setting and being a part of something that's genuinely special, and I think will continue to support my life overall.
For him, in addition to the camaraderie, he loved being on stage. Even though he didn't do it anywhere else, there was something about the confidence it gave him and the role model, like that he got to be.
I was a teacher for a lot of years, but putting myself out there to do the musicals, singing, dancing, and acting was out of my comfort zone.
Lou, where are you, Lou? Struck down by a beverage I consumed faithfully for 32 years.
I found I had more confidence and I started to take on leadership roles in my church and work life that I wouldn't do before.
Look at the dust there and there, filth!
And as if all that weren't enough.
Hi, I'm Josh Bernal. You might remember me as Horton the Elephant.
On the 15th of May, in the jungle of New, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool.
And I'm Carly, and you may remember me as the sour kangaroo.
Humza boys! Twas the sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in the pouch said, "Hum!"
Yeah, so we knew each other before the musical, but we were never really friends until that summer when we did the musical together. And long story short, we were married. We've been married for a year and a half.
And we always talk about how the musical really brought us together.
And lived happily ever after.
That we can go from sitting awkwardly at a boring orientation meeting in an empty and unsightly hall with a group of people of all ages and skills, many of whom are still strangers to us, and in only about 4 weeks' time perform for a packed house at opening night with songs and solos learned.
Dance is complete.
Sets built from scratch.
Lines and blocking memorized.
Prompts made and organized.
Lighting and sound ready.
Costumes fitted and hemmed.
Orchestra tuned and rehearsed.
Programs copied and folded.
Cloister decorated, busy with volunteer dinner servers.
Is nothing short of a true miracle.
Boy, does it ever take a village.
You've done an entire 4 weeks of like learning what you're going to do. And then you add in lights and tech and orchestra. And all of a sudden it's like everything different and it's exhausting, but like also amazing.
The entire church got involved, from building sets to playing in the pit orchestra, doing PR, doing photography, silk screening posters. It was really everybody at First Church was involved in that, and it was very exciting.
There are many skills and many jobs needed on this project, and we get them done.
Yeah, everybody pitched in, and it was, it was a family.
Every single parent participated by signing up to bring snacks or work in the cloister, help support and create the dining experiences. And somehow, shockingly, it all came together.
Every Sunday night, as you know, before our Wednesday opening, we have the huge dinner that we host. We had mentioned the need for someone, if someone would like to take this big responsibility of hosting that dinner. And here this family says, we shall do it. They're brand new. So that's an example of how everyone pitches in.
Because there was always something to pick up and move around. There was always something to paint. There was always something, to help out somebody with lines. So you had to really support each other during the whole play.
5 nights a week, most Saturdays, and then a big long Sunday. And it was just a very unique and sometimes stressful. We'd get to that last week and wonder how we were going to open the next Wednesday night.
I am tense.
But somehow it always happened.
But how? Oh Lord in heaven, how?
5 weeks where you literally don't see anyone else, because it's like you're doing whatever you're doing during the day, but every single weeknight your friends don't believe you when you're like, no, I literally can't see you any night at all.
My own personal kind of epiphany moment was Bye Bye Birdie, and we apparently needed a few more men to be, which we were always sort of looking for enough men or boys to be in it, and we needed it for the Shriner Ballet. That's what it was. And we didn't have enough, and Mike Moore agreed to come in and be one of the Shriners. So he was basically on stage for 3 minutes. And I remember him coming in at one of the rehearsals, which he came to all the rehearsals that he needed to come to for that show. But the attention to detail and is my tie fitting right? And do you think this and the hat? And I thought, there's something so beautiful about the fact that this person who was not really going to do the play, but he heard the call, they needed some people, he came in, he's doing one number, and he's so careful and meticulous about it, so it's just right for the group. I mean, I think it's the beautiful thing about the arts, and certainly about the musical program.
I took a tumble. Split lip, I lost a tooth, fractured my nose, concussion. Needless to say, I did not make it to opening night. I was heartbroken. And I remember that night sitting at home with my parents. I remember hearing a knock. There was Shan Halverson. She had a care package and a big signed card. I just burst into tears. It was such a deep feeling of being truly cared for by community.
As we stumble along on life's routed firstborn, as we push and we shove,
The show must go on. So whatever happens,
and something outrageous is going to happen.
You just have to make it work.
I remember one time when I was a detective in the play Bells Are Ringing, my cue was a knock at the door. There's been, and I was supposed to say something, and somebody comes in the door and we have an exchange. So there I was, we were talking on the stage, we were following our lines, and I was waiting for my cue. There was no knock at the door. And there Still was no knock at the door, and it seemed like a long time when I finally said, "Did you hear that knock at the door?"
Myself, I was playing Lumiere, and Cogsworth, which was Peter Woodall, we were helping encourage the Beast, who was played by Mark Woodall, to get ready for his big date with Belle. And so we go through our lines, and at times it's time to turn and look for the entrance of Belle. And Chris is playing Belle, and we all turn and look at the time when it's supposed to happen, and she wasn't there, and we were like, okay.
Like an actor loves his cues.
And inevitably, every year, the production poses a challenge, providing space for a creative
and cost-effective
solution.
It was fun to be in the plays. When I had the opportunity to work kind of more on the production side of it, it's fun to have a creative outlet. Me and Megan work together really hard to figure out what we want for the set. From there, it's making diagrams of the set. There's not any wings on the stage, so there's no behind the scenes. It's all has to be on the stage all the time. But being able to figure out how to have the different locations and also keep everything on the set, on the stage at the same time is a big part of it.
It's true. I always find so much joy in the creative sparks that fly when I take a problem. There's always a problem, and there's never a lot of money, to Clark or to Eric or to Steve or to Clara, any number of tech people that we've had over the years. This character has to fly, or we need to throw fire across the stage, or we need really, really big scissors that we can actually work, or whatever it is that we need that year, or even something as simple as, hey, there's this moment in the script and I really want to find a way to make this moment more magical. Or noticeable, or pack more punch. What can we do? And inevitably some really awesome creative solution comes out of those conversations, and I'm just so grateful for those people every year.
And then one of those shows, we built a light box, and my dad, Howard Underwood, helped me build this because he's an electrician, and that's when I started learning about electrical.
I was a lighting designer for a few years as a student, and it was a great learning experience for making do with what you have. There's really never enough money in theater, and on one of the shows, I think it's the very first one I worked, so I was still getting used to figuring everything out. After working for literally hours, we were trying to fit these cables into a power box, but almost tears involved just because it took so long and it was so frustrating. So we ended up needing to borrow some cutters from the gardener. And it was just so funny, and I don't think I'll ever forget that, but it worked.
I wasn't in the musical until my son got involved. I started as a parent on duty, chaperone, and then I was making props, sword, printing press, a couple rifles for Brigadoon, the crocodile for Peter Pan, and I played the role of the crocodile. I really enjoyed the working together. Regardless of I wasn't an older person.
Well, I feel 20 years younger.
I was just an actor doing my small part. If some younger person, knows more than me, then they tell me, and it's just stepping out of your role as an older adult into just being part of the crew.
Yes, sir. But he doesn't know the territory.
And we're doing Cinderella, and I can't figure out how to solve the problem of the big clock striking 12. Like, how do you control that so an audience can see it without it being super cheesy? And Danny Kazakowski shows up, and I've got a solution. So he builds this ginormous clock that he is able to rig to have the hands move to 12 o'clock at the right moment. And, of course, that's a plot twist of the show, so we needed it. And then he came in another year and helped with Drowsy Chaperone, where supposedly a whole plane is supposed to land on stage. Of course, we weren't going to do that in Great Hall, but he figured out a way to represent the plane with just pieces, and they were very beautiful and did exactly what the play required. So I loved seeing this little boy who grew up to be this young man who was creative and generous and lovely. So
Shoo-be-doo, shoo-be-doo, wash. Shoo-be-doo, 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 wash.
There is a behemoth, megalithic, giant eyesore, and it is the giant metal heater that sits in the corner.
It's unbelievable, awful and unbelievable.
Every year, it was like this creative, it was like the hero's journey we went on to try to figure out the best way that we could cover it, drape it, put flats over it. I think one year I wanted to paint it, a very dangerous idea. And so it was like the beast that we had to conquer every year.
By the time Anthony got to youth group, he was so excited to be a part of it. Like he would been there in the mornings during the week. When he wasn't in like summer school or anything, he would go because that's where he wanted to be, and he would help put the sets together. He would help paint the backdrops, or he would help do all that stuff because it's what he wanted to do.
For Meet Me in St. Louis, we were working on the set. We had this amazing trolley that was going to ride in and ride out with everyone riding on it. It was amazing. But we always wait to paint the floor until the very last day. So it was opening night, day of, and we were like, okay, it's time to paint the floor. So we painted the floor, right? And that was fine and all fine and dandy. Except for that, of course, we used oil-based paint, which is really problematic because oil-based paint is incredibly sticky, and oil-based paint takes at least 24 hours to dry, I think.
How could you make such a miserable decision?
And we had to dry this oil-based paint. You can't paint over it. And so literally we pulled out those giant fans that we put in Great Hall to try to keep people cool. And we had hair blow dryers that were blowing onto the floor. And we put sawdust onto the floor, and then you sweep it, and then you put more sawdust and you sweep it to try make it less sticky.
I come from the land of the doggy-doggy-doo.
Played in the orchestra, I can say the first time that we sit down for rehearsal, it's a little bit terrifying, and we're like, uh-oh, are we gonna be able to do this?
One memory that really sticks out to me was during Brigadoon, or as the cast referred to it, Bridge of Doom, when I was dancing in the back. Well, apparently I was dancing just a little too hard, because I knocked myself into one of the perioctoi, I googled it just for the occasion, which then fell into the other two, which in turn fell onto one of the orchestra members and almost broke his violin.
Also, I love doing the dance sequences. I grew up dancing and performing and being a cheerleader with dance choreography, so the musicals have allowed me to continue these experiences in my adult life.
One of the songs that I sang was My Funny Valentine, which has, to be fair, a pretty challenging introduction. I really struggled with it, and I just could not get it right. So our music director at the time was trying to play it with me a million times. I rehearsed it at home a million times, and I just never got it right. And finally, one day during rehearsal, it was break, and Carol Tavis was our pianist that year, and she came over to me super sweetly and quiet, and she's like, hey Holly, I just, if you wanted to, I'd be willing to play that introduction to My Funny Valentine with you. And I was like, Carol, yes, I will absolutely take that offer. And she was playing it with me, and we got to this one note, and she's like, oh Holly, I just noticed that every time you sing this introduction, you get that note wrong. It might be that one note that you get wrong. I was like, Carol Tavis, that's amazing. Yes, that is the note that I get wrong every time. And from that point on, I sang that introduction right.
The thing that I think made me laugh the most,
throughout my entire experience with the summer musical was probably there was a scene change and where we leave Kansas and we move to Oz. And at that point, Dorothy is supposed to enter stage left, I believe. And there are legs underneath the house, and that is the Wicked Witch of the East. This particular evening, something went slightly awry during the scene change, and for some reason, when the lights came up, the house was in its appropriate place, but the legs, the dead legs of the Wicked Witch of the East, did not, for some reason, make it under the house. So there were just two legs with shoes and striped tights.
Well, you got trouble, my friend.
When I started working with Krissa on Santa Fe, one of the main songs in Newsies, I had listened to it and I had started singing and I was like, wow, this song is really high and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And Krissa would just work with me, and I have a specific memory of when this was during break, and I was at the piano with her and Randy, and she basically just yelled at me and she was like, dude, like, just go for it. And so I was like, okay. So then I just sang the whole song all the way through, and I was like, wow.
I got nothing if I ain't got nothing.
So when I was in Annie Get Your Gun, I played Tommy. It was my first musical ever, and I had kind of one of the leads. And you know, the way that musical started out was there's no business like show business.
Everything about it is appealing. Everything the traffic will allow.
The whole thing starts out a cappella, right? Like there's no musical cues to enter the movie. It just starts, spotlight, the characters just sing, hopefully right on key. And I was so nervous for my first performance. It starts out and I go through my first line, night one, and immediately my voice cracks, like right on the first line, and I died inside.
I think I made a real fool of myself this time.
I was just like, oh my gosh. And then we kept going, and it was great. And that moment, you know, gave me so much confidence to think, oh, you know, it's going to be okay. You can get through this. It was a super fun musical, and you know, every other time it just got better. And to be able to actually just go from this like incredibly embarrassing, you know, adolescent voice crack right in the middle, like there's nothing else to cover it up. It's right there. And then to go and just keep moving on and have a successful, fun musical and a great time. It was such a big moment that seared in my brain. That's like simultaneously was super embarrassing at the moment, but then really encouraging and confidence building as I look back on it now.
There's no business like show business.
I had the chance to play a character named Herbie, and at 13 years old, I was a pipsqueak. I really had not grown yet. And my character was to kiss another character, Sonia, who was played by Kathy Underwood Carter. And she was one of the older girls and really cool and pretty, and I felt extremely intimidated by that. But she made it very fun and very funny. And to this day, when she and I talk to each other, we still call each other by our cast names, Sonia and Herbie.
You know I need your love. Oh, give me one last kiss.
I have to say, I think my time playing Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast was some of the most fun I've ever had. And I don't just mean like in the musicals, I mean like ever in my life. I just went all out at like an 11 for this character, and it was so much fun to like be comic relief and to like see people react and laugh and have this French accent. It was, I don't know, It was so silly and so great and so wonderful, and I'm sure I'll tell my grandkids about it.
And now,
What happens?
Next. Hey. Next. Next.
Be careful.
She turned you down? Surprise!
Have you seen or you'd like to see her? Would you like an encore?
I jumps up the downs.
You are an amateur!
Ooh la la! Oh, someone's coming!
No!
it's you. Smile, ladies, smile. Yes, it's you. Oh, yes, it's
and make it so that they could feel confident in their costume and not forget their hat. Don't forget that.
Shannon and I always had this sweet little banter on costume parade nights. She would bring a cast member in to see if the costume might work for the show, and sometimes it would read a little weird on stage with the lights or the scenery, and I'd ask for another option. This happened many, many, many times, but she always smiled and left to find something else to try. Always graceful, probably slightly irritated, and I think that just illustrates how people were able to collaborate, even in high tense moments and even when the pressure was on.
I got to be the lion in The Wizard of Oz. What a great role.
You know, playing the lion is exciting and Wizard of Oz is exciting, but also kind of high pressure.
Wearing that costume may have been my most fun yet harrowing experience of my life. Fun and exciting because of the previous cowardly lions that came before and what a reputation to uphold. Steeped in F.U.M.C. history and tradition. Harrowing because there's nothing like wearing a lion's mane in the middle of July. Now, I'm not really a sweaty person, but that summer I learned just how much a person can sweat, and perhaps how much sweat is too much sweat.
Horrifically hot.
It was extremely hot.
And we definitely wore the ice packs underneath.
I strapped ice packets to my head and around my waist just to stay cool.
Let's just say that you didn't want to see my undershirt after the show.
At the end of the night, I would basically strip down, you know, in the basement and take off my tank top and just wring it out with like disgusting amounts of sweat.
I remember being extremely nervous. What was my opening line? I couldn't think of it for a moment. Then my cue happened. Oh yeah, just jump out and roar.
When we were doing Oklahoma, I had to be away for a weekend to celebrate our anniversary. And I left Pam and Mary Beth making lots of bloomers. When the cat's away, the mice had a grand old time.
Smarty pants.
Oh, I need a pair of shoes, and there's the shoe box. And how many pairs of shoes people pulled and having Gorilla Glue and duct tape.
The worst go of it was probably the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. I had this brilliant idea that I would mix pancake makeup, which you know is pretty creamy, and mix it with some powder makeup because I liked the color better when the two different shades of green were mixed. And so I just took it upon myself to experiment with this formula and test it out on Megan during dress rehearsal and the run of the show. I think after the show was over, she was probably green for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days.
And sometimes things just get weird.
So one of my favorite parts of the summer musical every year is absolutely that moment when they've taken out all of the costumes from the basement, like the deep pits of the basement, and put it into the Boy Scout room downstairs. And like, I don't know what the smell is, but I swear to God, you like walk down the stairs and it just comes wafting up at you. And it's like the most amazing smell.
What?
There's just a certain smell about all those clothes from the basement.
I love the smell of the costume room. It's just marvelous and so unique.
Even if I were to go down there now, I would trigger very, very fond memories.
Almost everyone we spoke to about the program, from the earliest participants to those still involved today, referenced the overwhelming sense of community that is created each summer.
That each year, the cast and crew becomes a family.
The idea of family is important to the program in many ways.
We're a family.
The drama program was such a great experience. It was at a time when Lance Martin headed up the youth program. We had easily 60 kids that were in junior high and high school, and drama was so integrated into that. You know, being one of the younger kids when we moved here and having been at a number of churches and having something to compare it to, the older kids here really took care of the young ones like family, and it felt like having this very loving environment to grow up in during junior high and high school.
You know, every time you have a good experience, it's like, you know, you hope that you can pass something like that on and have your kids have the same experience.
My history of the summer musical goes far beyond, before I was born. The first summer musical I went to was when I was 6 months old in 1988, when my dad was the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. I'd probably bet that there's at least half, if not more, of the musicals that have happened so far have had one of my family members be a part of it. I mean, it takes up so much of your year. I mean, it's like a big chunk, right? It's a whole month of every night rehearsing and this special outcome of, 4 nights of a performance, and to do something that my family had done and been so involved in, and then get to be a part of that for a couple years was so incredibly special.
Another thing that was super special to me was being able to work with my daughter in so many of the shows, and that entire class of kids, that class of 2012. So I worked with them for several years when they first came in as having just finished their 6th grade year, and doing Guys and Dolls, and then Anything Goes, and Seussical, on to Cinderella, Godspell, and their final year, Drowsy Chaperone, which was just a blast, a hoot to get to spend that much time with your kid in the summer, to get to spend that much time with your kid and their friends. And those are relationships and friendships that they formed with each other, but also formed with me, that I think will last a lifetime.
When we did The Wizard of Oz a few years ago, I was Miss Gulch. And my grandchildren, Savannah and Logan, were Munchkins and Poppies and Ozians.
We enjoyed being in the shows with our children. They were able to see us in a different way. I think because they were able to see us put ourselves out there and take risks. Our family has such fond memories of laughing and working together on all of these shows. It was a highlight of our children's education growing up.
We really had no idea what we were in for when we started. It became this huge family commitment, and we are that kind of family now. Grace is in the show as a performer. Steve would help out as a stagehand. I do like the parent duties, plus help out with dinner service and costumes and miscellaneous items. Dylan would act like he ran the entire thing. Despite the massive commitment, it felt really good to do something together. For a few weeks, we're all focused on one thing, and even though we're in different groups, it still feels like this family project that we get to share with everyone.
As we approach 50 years, we celebrate all the summer musical program has given us, and the friends, parents, directors, audience members, and supporters who have been a part of it. It's never been about one thing, or person, or family, or generation. It's a dynamic, ever-changing community of commitment, support, education, faith, and a lot of fun.
Thank you so very much. Welcome all of our visitors to our first church and family here this evening. As you look at your programs, you'll see the names of 69 persons who helped us produce this show. I'm going to pass an offering plate to free will offering among us to help us for the production next year.
In fact, if people know that the end of July every year, the smiles on their faces when they come for dinner, we're averaging 85 people a night for 4 separate nights of suppers. We're serving 350 dinners, which just proves how excited people are to be there.
Like I said, when John decided, he said, I'm going to start a dinner. That would be a good way, he says, to raise money for our choir. And Les says, I'll help you. We were down there every night washing. Well, Les would go down in the afternoon about 3. John prepared dinner.
As far as just how very special this program is, I can say that I think the people involved in the F.U.M.C drama program and the summer musical program were such a tremendous place of healing and normalcy during formidable and challenging, really difficult parts of my personal life and my narrative. Many people there to wrap their arms around you when times are tough. So it's not just about the program itself and all the benefits of being a part of the program, but it's also about really being held in wonderful friendships and relationships when, your days aren't so easy.
Many who came for the summer program stayed, becoming part of our larger church community, through which the relationships born in the summer were strengthened, new relationships formed, and spiritual journeys started.
We came to the church for the musical. I always believed in 2 things for the church that bring people in: camp and the musical.
We had a great experience in our first musical. Me and my son and our family are so welcome. People here are so nice. We are Christians, and we always want to find a best group for my son, for me, and for our family. I just found that this is the best program for youth ever. After participating in this program and after getting to know all the friends here, we feel, yes, this is a place we could stay.
The summer musical rehearsals are a really good way to get to know all the families, and we really enjoyed the church and the community and being a part of it, so we decided to stay.
My mom came to me with this flyer advertising how there was this church that was doing Newsies. I went, and immediately everyone there was so nice, like just so welcoming. And it was so much fun. I just, even being there for only a few weeks, I felt like everyone there was my family, and I had never really had that feeling before in a church. So I talked to my mom, and my mom also came to me asking if we would want to start going to this church, F.U.M.C. And honestly, I think it's one of the best decisions that we've ever made. I am definitely more faithful than I have ever been in my entire life. And I just feel like
finding this place has been such a blessing to me and to my whole family.
We'd like to believe that friends, family, and the larger community will continue to find their way to our program and keep the music coming. Because at the end of the day, we've got to sing and we've got to dance. Our musical summers give us the chance. In the beginning, there was a great hall.
Lonely each summer, silence casting a pall.
Kids out of school, no cell phone to own. Then rolled in the year of 73. Someone with vision said, hey, could it be a change this great hall could soon undergo? Please don't laugh, let's put on a show.
That's simply crazy, and there's not a chance.
'Cause we're not good singers and we can't really dance.
But soon talents flowed out, surprising them all. Dancers, builders, actors on the ball. Sets, costumes memorized, working night and day. Finally ready for the first play. The third day, we put on a show. We gotta sing and we gotta dance. Our musical summers give us a chance
To learn who we are,
how high we can reach.
We work all together, learn and we teach.
we share and we argue,
We cry and we sweat.
and we haven't found anything better yet. So
we gotta sing and we gotta dance. Our musical summers give us the chance.
Now we're nearing our 50th year.
we set out to celebrate how we got here.
The third day was over, Jonah's story came next. In a sleep of prisoners, our talents we flexed. Godspell and celebrate life in the stage.
Boy met girl, then birdies the rage.
And Godspell again, prepare ye the way. The tall corn grew many a new day.
Well, you heard of the Princess and Me in 83 and 94. We performed it with glee.
The fiddler called next and Anatevka played twice.
But later to Oz we visited thrice. Babes and nerds came up calling Valentine's so sweet. Fast forward, Prince Hockey beat. Nugget sang her art, not being told no. A little Abner came some 30 years ago. We gotta sing and we gotta dance. Our musical summers give us the chance to learn who we are, how high we can reach. We work all together, we learn and we teach.
We share and we argue, we cry and we sweat, and we haven't found anything better yet. So
We gotta sing and we gotta dance. Our musical summers give us the chance. Bells were ringing, it was 91. Then anything goes could just not be outdone. Birdie organs swinging and the kitchen did swoon. The Adler arrived again, fiddling his tune. Charlie Brown came to visit and Alice stopped by. But the rat queen did make her cry. To safely then to dance at the fair. Soon Hollywood called and there was rain in the air. Annie, she got her gun and headed us west. Two audiences next, we said please be our guest.
The big city's guys called out to guys with their dolls.
Then Susan will color the great falls travels. Cinderella came next to our own little corner. Music man followed by a wire charmer. The man in the chair, he talked and talked and talked. 20 kids and chaperones through the walk they walked. We gotta sing and we gotta dance. Our musical summers give us the chance to learn who we are, how high we can reach. We work all together,
We learn and we teach.
we share and we argue,
We cry and we swear.
and we haven't found anything better yet. gonna sing